your line.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you all for coming. Today is a services introduction to the Islamic home financing business, and we have a lot of service providers here. The reason why I'm doing this introduction is because I have done some Islamic financial literacy talks for the masjid here, and they're on YouTube. One of them is about budgeting and savings for families, and then the second one is about saving and investing in a Sharia-compliant and halal way. And so I've been asked to do some financial counseling, which I'm able to do and help the community. Today we have 5 vendors that have agreed to come to us, some of them from quite a distance. So we're very, very happy to have them. And one of the questions I always get is, what are the options for Islamic financing? What are the options for halal investing? So we're trying to do these different workshops, and today it's going to focus on Islamic financing. And we have 5 vendors here today. One is Divan Bank. We have American Finance House La Riba from down south, Southern California. We have Guidance Residential. We have UIF Corporation. And we have Amin Housing. So I'm going to go ahead and step aside really quickly. I just want to say that in my other introductions to finance, and I'm not a scholar, but I just want to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to riba, and he uses the word war for 2 things in the Quran. Only 2 things, the word harb. And one is for those who take usury, pay usury, and witness the contracts. And the second is for those who speak ill of Allah's awliya, the walis of Allah. That is what my teachers have told me. It's a very serious burden, and it's an amazing service that we have businesses and banks and financial institutions that are willing to provide alternatives to that system. So I want to go ahead and jump into here. We've got 1-hour presentations really quickly. And I'm going to introduce the first bank. This is Divan Bank. And I will go ahead and let each one introduce the next one. And so go ahead and get started. Thank you for coming up. He'll introduce himself. We have some slides. And the presentation will be posted with the slides on YouTube after the event. We'll also have a Q&A if people want to stick around after Isha. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Brother Zishan, for the introduction, and it's an absolute honor and privilege to be here in this beautiful masjid. Alhamdulillah. So today I'm going to go over a very abbreviated presentation about a specific Islamic finance transaction that we do at Divan Bank, known as a murabha. And I believe we're going to have time at the end tonight for a question and answer session. So please, if you have questions, you want to write them down, you want to hold them to the end, and we'll make sure to go over them, inshallah. So really quickly, I'll talk a little bit about Divan Bank. So it's actually, alhamdulillah, it's a great story because this is one of many stories to, inshallah, that will continue to be written, right? So this is about a story about a Islamic finance that came to the community, brought to the bank, right? So Divan Bank has been around for about 80 years. It started in 1945, and in the early 2000s, a group of local merchants, quite specifically, there's a bookstore by the name of Iqra. So the Iqra Foundation had found out that Divan Bank was actually providing faith-based finance to the Jewish community. So they were, for all of the Jewish synagogues in Chicago, they said that they would like to purchase a property by avoiding interest, and if they would help create a product for the Muslim community. So alhamdulillah, it's because of the community that went to the bank and demanded or asked for a product for them, that the bank looked into it and worked with the Honorable Mufti Nawal Rahman and the Sharia Supervisory Board of America and created the product. So it's a beautiful story, and I think there's going to be many more stories to come like this in the future, inshallah, as our community expands and grows and the demand continues for these types of products. Right before I go into the specific transaction, I'll talk a little bit about myself. So I've been in the Islamic banking and finance industry for about 15 years now, and I started off as a financial advisor. So I'm still currently a fully licensed financial advisor and financial planner, specializing in Shariah-compliant and ethical investing, and specializing in Islamic home finance. So for me, it's been very passion oriented, knowing that I get to work in the community. So alhamdulillah, for me, it's an absolute privilege. I could work at a traditional bank. I could work at I could have stayed at Merrill Lynch and perhaps maybe even made more money, but sometimes it's the blessings, it's the barakah in it, right? So, and I think we're at such an important time right now where we have to understand how to support each other, support our community. And it's interesting because the owner of Devon Bank, so he comes from a Jewish family, and he had actually advised the Muslim community. I actually had him come out to Masjid Zakaria in Fremont, and he had advised the Muslim community, said, one thing that I would recommend is to keep money in your community, right? So that's something that the Jewish community does. Money doesn't leave their community 17 times, so they want to make sure that money is circulating within the community to empower the community. So I think it's a valuable lesson and very good advice. So that's something that I don't take for granted, being in Islamic finance. I think it's an absolute privilege being able to work in my community, being able to help people become homeowners, especially to a group that previously didn't have options of doing that, right, unless they're purchasing in cash. So alhamdulillah, it's, Devon's got this product. There's others here today as well. And I think the more this continues to grow, it's beneficial for our community. So again, because of time purposes, I'm just going to dive right in and how our product works, how the Devon Bank product works, right? So there are three major ways of doing Islamic finance in the U.S. So the one that Devon Bank does is called a murabaha. And basically what a murabaha is it's a purchase and a resale, or a deferment, if you will. So technically, if you talk about what is riba, riba is essentially paying money for money, right? So as we know, money has no intrinsic value. And what the murabaha does is it avoids lending money, right? So the murabaha is technically, it's not a loan, but a credit sale, right? It's a very simple transaction. The financier or the bank acquires the property from the seller and then sells it back for a fixed price, and you just make those payments in installments. So very simple, very transparent. And some people may say, hey, isn't the end result the same, right? And the end result may be the same, but it's the path that you take, that is the important part. So that's a key thing in the murabaha, is not only are the words different, not only is the contract different, but the process is different, right? The closing process, showing that a chain of ownership from the original seller to the financial institution and then to the buyer. So if you can see the screen, you'll see kind of a diagram of how that works, right? So it goes from the buyer first identifies the property that they want to purchase. They negotiate the terms with the seller, and then that's when the bank comes in, or the financial institution comes in, and they are the ones that acquire the property and then sell it back to the buyer. So product validity. So I explained this a little bit earlier, that the Devon Bank's murabaha transaction was reviewed by the Honorable Mufti Nawal Rahman of the Sharia Supervisory Board of America. And alhamdulillah, he did this purely out of passion for helping the community. So he volunteered his time to do this. So he was not compensated, to provide an approval is purely out of his desire to help the community and to make sure that the community had a viable product. So he spent, countless hours with Devon Bank and still does, right? So anytime there's any questions that come up, if there's any changes, regulatory changes, and the bank needs to adjust any documentation, he makes himself available to make sure that the product stays compliant. As I said, it was a very abbreviated presentation, but I'm going to touch a little bit more, actually, going back to, go back. Yeah, so I wanted to hold it on this slide because I think when we do get to the question and answer session, I think, I want to make sure you guys are able to kind of visualize how the process works. So when we get to the question and answer session, if you want to take a photo of this, then we can go over that, inshallah. But again, as I mentioned, it is a fairly simple transaction in that the documentation is, how the process works is that you first come to the bank or the financial institution. We pre-qualify you, right? So we look at income documentation such as, your pay stubs, your W-2s. If you're self-employed, we'll take a look at your tax returns to see what your income is. And then we're able to determine how much you're qualified for. And once we determine how much you're qualified for, we issue you a pre-qualification letter, or in some cases, a pre-approval letter. And with that letter, that's when you start shopping around. You can work with the local realtor to help you identify the property, have that realtor help you negotiate the terms, right? And I would highly stress doing that because, there's so many nuances that come with buying a home, especially when you're buying a pre-existing home, right? Not a new construction home. So I would highly recommend that you work with a local realtor, preferably in the community. And they can help you to, if you like the home, negotiate the correct terms for you. And, and then once that offer is accepted, and that's when, we would receive that purchase contract that you signed with the seller. And that's when the bank steps in and they start underwriting the file for you and close approximately within 21 days. And then after you close, you'll typically your first payment isn't until the month following. And you'll have instructions on how to set up auto payment. Some people ask if you can do something called a, biweekly payments, where you break your payments into 2 payments in the month to help you, pay down your Muraba transaction faster. So that's something that we can do as well. Set up auto pay. And so that's pretty much all I have with 2 minutes to spare for you guys. So hopefully allowing a few more minutes for us, inshallah, in the questions and answer sessions. Jazakallah khairan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, everyone. I'm honored, Brother Zishan, Brother Munir, and the MCC board. It's my honor to attend this function tonight and share a little bit about what we call the LBG, the Lariba Banking Group, which consists of 2 entities. There is American Finance House Lariba and the Bank of Whittier. So my goal tonight, inshallah, is to give you a little bit about the background of these 2 entities, what we do, what differentiates us from the other companies you're going to hear from tonight. Everybody you're going to hear from tonight has a model of financing that is Sharia approved, that has a fatwa on it, but the models are a little different, the processes are a little different. And I think our goal, inshallah, is to share about what we do and how we are different from from others. Here we go. So at the LBG, before I go into our shareholders, our mission, and it really is worth repeating, is to provide a riba-free alternative to the traditional bank products at the same or lower cost. So I repeat, a riba-free alternative to the traditional bank products for the same or lower cost. So that's one of our guiding principles that we go by. We were established in 1987, over 36 years ago. So we're one of the first companies that started in the field of Islamic financing. And our shareholders really came from the American Muslim community. We started with the premise and the idea of providing this alternative and not having to deal with a traditional bank in order to avoid the riba issue. Our goal is we're working on building an institution not only for our grandchildren, but for their grandchildren as well. So we take a long-term view. We've lived through cycles. We're not worried or afraid of cycles. The markets come and go. But the goal is to provide a riba-free alternative in America that is here to stay for all of our children, inshallah, and future generations. And we hope to do that. So what are the services we provide? If you think of Chase or Bank of America, we provide all the services that they can provide only on a riba-free basis, and between La Riba and the Bank of Whittier. So the bank, for example, has deposit accounts that are FDIC insured. You have the Amana deposits, the checking account. They don't earn income. There's the money market accounts, which do earn a riba-free income, as well as certificates of deposit, riba-free, IRA accounts, etc. That's on the depository side. On the financing side, we have, of course, we finance new cars. We don't finance used cars at this time. We finance new cars. We finance mortgages, including jumbos. Of course, in this part of the town, jumbos are very important. We do refinancing, home equity, loans, commercial property financing. We do doctor clinics. We do nonprofit, a lot of nonprofit financing, masajid and schools as well. So it's a full service organization. What's unique about what we do? When it comes to the loans that we do, we insist on servicing all the loans that we originate. Servicing, for your information, if you're not familiar with that term, is doing the billing and the collection. What is important about the billing and the collections? Some people say it's just a headache. Let's farm it out to somebody else to do that. We feel it's a very important part of the riba-free approach to apply the riba-free principles in dealing with the customer. So a customer who's late in paying, they don't get an automatic late payment charge. They get a call and find out what's the issue. If there is a financial hardship, if it's a mistake, there are no fees that are assessed as a late payment fee. Of course, those that are habitual payers or want to abuse the system will be charged, but the full amount that's charged is donated to charity so that we don't have any incentive to benefit from that. Our customer's name is the only name on title. So unlike some of our peers that you'll hear from, we do not use an LLC structure or anything that clouds the title with another name on it. And our associates, we train them to be advisors to the customers, honest advisors. We're not training them to be the top salespeople, but we're training them to see what is the best in the customer's point. We can compete on cost, of course, with everybody out there. We're very quick on closing because we do everything in-house. Processing, underwriting, and servicing, everything is done in-house. And we use the investment and marking to the market approach in our model of financing. Our model of financing is a form of musharaka, and I'll describe it a little more in detail in a little bit. Sharia compliance, that's of course everybody wants to know. We're approved by all entities, including AMJA now. We are members of AOFI, the Accounting and Standards Board for Islamic Banks. It sets the standards all over the world. We're the only riba-free bank in the U.S. that conducts annual Sharia audits of its business, not only looks at the fatwa, looks at the process, looks at the loan documentation, and we publish that report on our website. It is done annually. And we serve Americans of all faith. As I mentioned, our goal is to provide this sort of financing as an alternative to America at large, as a window for da'wah, inshallah, and for our mizan. If we're to look at the Bank of Whittier in more detail, the bank is the first national bank in the U.S. to be operating using the riba-free principle and discipline. It has an internet banking suite, much like Chase or Bank of America or anybody else. We have 2 anchor regional offices in Los Angeles and Dallas. We have, of course, smartphone apps like every bank that you can do all your banking and financing on. And of course, we have ATM. Because we're limited in branches, we have an agreement with Bank of America and with Citibank where our ATM cards can be used in any of those 2 institutions free of charge, just like you are using it at Bank of America. And then, of course, through the STAR system, you can use your ATM in over 1 million outlets throughout the world. What is unique about the LBG or the Lidra Banking Group is our focus on research. Our founder, Dr. Yahya Abdul Rahman, has been in this field for over 50 years with numerous speeches, publications, etc. He's actually known as the father of Islamic financing. We have a unique model of financing. It is a form of musharaka. It's based on the musharaka and the usage of the property. Our model of financing has withstood the test of time. In 2008, when many banks were having a hard time, our delinquency rate was less than 0.1% of the national average. And we actually were the pioneers or the innovators of dealing with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae among the Islamic banking group. And the model we're using is used by many of our peers today. Carrying on in the research, these are some of the books that our founder, Dr. Yahya Abdul Rahman, has authored. The La Riba book in 1994, The Art of Islamic Banking and Finance in 2010. In 2014, the second edition, an expanded edition, was issued. In 2016, it was translated into Turkish, and the Arabic is coming very soon, inshallah. Our model of financing was the subject of a research group. If you're familiar with ISRA, that's the International Sharia Research Academy. This is part of the Malaysian Central Bank. They did a study on our model, and it's available in Arabic and English that addresses the Sharia foundation as well as the merits of this unique model. Here's some of our advertisements that you might have seen. I'll also highlight some of the projects that we have financed in the last minute. We financed the Islamic Center of Tacoma in the state of Washington. We've done the Mesquite Islamic Center. We've done a number of Islamic centers. This is Al Nur Academy in Massachusetts. So we're highlighting the nonprofits. Schools in Memphis and in Houston, Texas, a masjid in Frisco, masjid in Irving. And Irving is unique because not only did we contribute to the building of this masjid, but Irving established their product in a unique community with many Muslim homes all around it. And as a matter of fact, there's gates that go from those homes right into Irving. And we were lucky enough, by the grace of Allah, to finance many of those homes in the Irving community as well. In addition to homes and nonprofits, of course, we do business financing, fast food franchises, and doctor clinics, as I mentioned. We like to say we don't rent money, we invest in you because we answer to a higher authority. With that, I would yield the balance of my time, and I believe our friends from UIF are coming up. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, guidance. I'm sorry.
Okay, so this is just to confirm. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Munzir Qtaish. I'm the Vice President, Regional Manager for the West Coast region with Guidance Residential. I want to thank first the board and the administration of the MCC for inviting us and inviting and coordinating this program. Inshallah, the goal from here is to make sure that we share with you our experience and our expertise in this in the Islamic finance, and hopefully, inshallah, that we can go over our model, how it works, and the company, the history of the company as well, so you are aware of who we are, inshallah. First, inshallah, we're just going to go over the company history, who we are, and then, inshallah, we'll go with understanding riba and the program, how it works, and we'll leave the Q&A to the end, inshallah. Guidance Residential is part of Capital Guidance. Capital Guidance is a 60-year-old company, Muslim-owned company. It's not a bank or affiliated with a bank, and we are not a subsidiary of a bank, and we are very proud of that. Why we say that? We emphasize on this because the banking system in the U.S. basically pushes you into an area that will help you will put you into an area that will force you to deal with prohibited financing or financing, whether it's a non-Islamic finance or even a product that you do not want to finance, for example. And the company was established here through Capital Guidance. And I just want to give you an idea where we are. We are a Capital Guidance operates in 27 countries. We have 77 offices across the nation. And just to give you an idea where we are in the U.S., Morocco, Middle East, Asia, Malaysia. Actually, we helped even in Saudi Arabia to establish Dar Tamliq, which is a program that they do the mortgages as well as in there, but through not the banking system. And we're very proud that we helped in this. Guidance Residential, how it was established and when it was established. It took us 3 years, multi-million-dollar research and development involving more than 18 law firms and 7 of the world's leading Islamic scholars in the finance. And after that, we had the Sharia-compliant. They were able to come up with a Sharia-compliant home financing model aligns with the U.S. and Islamic legal system. This is important because you have to align both of them to make sure that you will be able to finance this. And from there, we created the model which we use, which is the declining balance co-ownership program. Which establishes a co-ownership between the customer and Guidance Residential. We operate currently in 34 different states, and we have financed more than $10 billion in Islamic finance. Alhamdulillah, more than 40,000 families, and we were actually launched in 2002. This is just to give you a history or a little bit of where we are. In 1999, between 1999 and 2002, that was with the research and development, and we were launched in 2002 in 3 different states, and alhamdulillah, now, as you can see that as of today, we have been there for more than 21 years as guidance residential, and we serve more than 40,000 families. This is actually, it shows it's outdated here, but it is, alhamdulillah, we have more than 40,000 families so far. We received awards and media exposure basically from many outlets, as you can see, from Al Jazeera, CNN, US Today, and many other national media. AMJA resolution. We were actually very proud at the end of 2014 when the AMJA resolution came. The Assembly of Muslim Justice America named guidance and its declining balance co-ownership program as it is permissible path for Muslims in America in needs of home financing. Their fatwa says the contract was found to be sound in general. All other institutions beside Amin Housing, which is only Amin Housing is it's an Amin Housing is not a mortgage company. I will call it. It's a co-op, and it's a Muslim-owned company as well. They were all other financial institutions were either regarded as companies that Muslim public is not allowed to deal with, or only if in dire need. And alhamdulillah, guidance was, their contract was permissible in general and sound in general. This is the Sharia board we have. The chairman of our Sharia board is Justice Muhammad Taqi Osmani. He is a well-renowned scholar from Pakistan. He is, mashallah, is a very well-known scholar, and these are the scholars are part of the Sharia board, and our Sharia board is basically has a group of scholars who are from I will say from the conservative to a little bit more open, I will say lenient is in there to just make sure to address all opinions and been addressed is in there, inshallah. And these are the scholars that who came up with the program. This is just if you need the fatwa, definitely every single program or every single contract we have signed by the Sharia board, and they are the one who's our declining balance ownership has not changed since we established it. It still has been the same since it has been launched in 2002, and we do the audit. And I just want to move forward with what Islam says about riba, and I think we have all heard the ayah in the Quran where it says, those who take unlawful interest will stand before Allah Azza wa Jal in the day of judgment as those whose minds has been corrupted by the influence of Satan. They say that commerce is just like interest, but Allah Azza wa Jal has made commerce lawful and has forbidden interest. And the last statement in this ayah, which says, I think that is a very interesting ayah, where Allah Azza wa Jal says that they will say commerce is like trade. They will always claim that. But Allah Azza wa Jal has distinguished between the two. The trade is different than, or commerce different than dealing with interest and riba. Other Abrahamic faiths, all of them has actually discussed the riba, and it is forbidden in their religion. And I'm just going to quote one quote from Exodus. It says, if you lend money to one of my people among you who is needy, do not be like a money lender, charge him no interest. And inshallah, we can definitely would be more than happy to share some of these quotes with you from the books of whether it's the Bible or the Torah. What is riba? Riba is, Brother Ali mentioned earlier, and so on. Says riba is a charging. It's making profit on money. It's like you're paying money on the money. When you pay money on the money, it is not allowed Islamically, and the only way that you can lend people money, and lending money is allowed, just to make sure that, but gaining money on that is not allowed. So it's if you lend someone, for example, a $5,000, do not expect the money to be back or returned back to you as a 5,100, for example. If you want to do a business, absolutely business is allowed. It doesn't mean that Islam gave us an option, gave us alternative to do business transactions. And these business transactions does not include lending. So riba in general is the creation of a profit from nothing. That's the summary of it. And riba is, as we mentioned, is prohibited in all other religions. A method of Islamic finance, there is the murabaha, and this is the method that is well known, especially in most of the Islamic world, I will say. Here in the US, it's like our Sharia board and our executive board, they found it is going to be difficult to do this program, especially when you deal with the secondary market and so on. And that is actually one of the issues that with the murabaha contract here. And then there is the musharaka and partnership, and there is the ijara and lease. The model that we adopted at Guidance is the musharaka, or the declining balance co-ownership program. And the Shariah mulk, that this is the model that we use. Actually, there is a musharaka. There's two types of different musharakas. There is Shariah mulk, and there is Shariah aqd. And the model that we use and we utilize is something called Shariah mulk, which is a joint ownership. And even in these Shariah mulk, there are something that is forced. Is like, for example, if you what does that mean? Is like, for example, if you inherit a property, you become partners. The siblings suddenly becomes like partners, and that is not by choice. And then, of course, the optional, where you go and you partner with someone to buy a property and so on. I'm not going to run the videos. Unfortunately, we can share it with you, inshallah, later on. This is the model, how our model works. As the home buyer and Guidance agree to co-own in a property, and each party ownership determines by the down payment they are putting. Here we're giving, for example, the example of, let's say, 30% and 70%. You can put as low as a 3% down payment. You don't have to put as 30%. But let's assume, for example, you put here 30% down payment. Your share in that property will be 30% from day one, and Guidance residential share will be 70%. And based on the monthly payment, there will be a monthly payment that it charges you utilization fee and acquisition fee. The utilization fee is for using our share as Guidance. We charge you usage fee for using our share of that property. And the acquisition is like you are buying equity from us, so your share will continue to go up and our share will continue to decline. The goal from the homeowner, the home buyer, to become the sole owner of the property over time. And of course, the terms of that contract is determined based on the beginning of the contract when we decide this and discuss that with you. A conventional mortgage, for example, and this is just to give you an idea, the difference between conventional and Islamic finance. When you go to a bank, for example, the borrower arrange for a loan from the bank according to a fixed or floating interest rate. The borrower purchased the home, you purchase the home, and that the home is going to be yours. And you agree, you will sign a contract, you sign a promissory note that you owe them, for example, let's say that amount of money. And then you pay it over time. And with time, the borrower makes monthly payment to repay the principal of interest loan, and over the course of the loan, the borrower repay the debts in full. The benefit of Musharaka, we have, of course, a calculated payment fee. That is many of the banks and mortgage companies they benefit from. They charge you around 5% is in there. Interest for you if you are being late and so on. Our commitment is over. Okay, I'm sorry, inshallah. So that inshallah, I'm going to finish in the next 30 seconds and so. Non-recourse commitment, also we take a share risk is in there as well with you in case of an imminent domain and natural disaster. There is no prepayment penalty if you decided to pay off the contract, and this is just a schedule of how this works. And inshallah, that's, I think we can end in here, inshallah, so we don't take any more time, and we'll open it at the Q&A. Jazakumullah khair, and assalamu alaikum. Sorry, one.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I know it's a serious topic we're talking about here, but I need some smiles and energies here. I feel like everybody's sitting like very just upset about something, you know. I can just say one thing for sure. I'm the only person here who flew in from Chicago this morning, woke up at 5, took a 7 a.m. flight to come out here, so I could be here personally to talk to all of you, inshallah. So a little extra credit coming my way, Jazakallah khair, thank you so much. My name is Ijaz Hussain. I'm the Executive Vice President Director at UIF, University Islamic Financial. And I've been in the industry 25 years. I started my career working on Wall Street with UBS, then with Morgan Stanley. Then with the dot-com bubble burst, I really lost a lot of faith in the stock markets and how the investment world worked. Got a call, hey, there's a company launching, a company that brother talked about, Guidance. Do you want to, there's an area manager position open in Chicago, so I joined them. Alhamdulillah, became the #1 producer at Guidance, was at one time doing 35% of the entire business for Guidance out of Chicago, became their vice president of sales. But about 12 years ago, my interests diverged, my philosophy, my passion didn't align with the company, so I got an opportunity to move to UIF, so I moved to UIF. And I've been heading UIF for the last 12 years. And alhamdulillah, we built an amazing company. And the goal today for me, I'm not going to get into the contracts and structures and riba, that's already been talked about. I want to talk about the opportunities, the challenges that we face as a company. We have, last slide I'm going to have is Anwar Mangrio. He's the #1 representative in the industry in Islamic financing, top 200 in the country. Anwar, if you can raise your hand back over there very quickly. He's from your area right here, been in the industry 15 plus years, so he's the person to talk to about questions about Islamic financing, pre-qualification, etc. What I want to answer to you is, how are we different as a company? Why have we become the #1 company in the country in home origination volume this year? And #1 last year in terms of purchases? It's because it's very simple. We know how to take care of our people. We take care of our customers. I'm a big believer in Jeff Bezos. You take care of your customers, they send you future customers. And with that very simple philosophy, we have built UIF. We don't go around bad-mouthing. We don't go around talking about the ownership structures of companies. We don't go around talking about which local group has approved you and give you a little higher rating or a little lower rating. These are all trivial issues that doesn't serve the Islamic community. What we believe is launching products and services that benefit the community. What we believe is taking care of the community. And at the end of the day, if we get those things right, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us the success that we're looking forward to. I'm not going to go through too much on some of the slides here, just for the interest of time. But I already talked a little bit about my background. UIF has been in the business for 20-some years now. We have done, we're operating in 29 states, done over 5 billion, not million, B as in billion, in home financing contracts, and over 100 million in masjid financing contracts. We just launched the auto financing, inshallah, now. under a program which is the buy and sell. So we buy the car for you on your behalf. We add a profit, we sell it to you because we're buying and selling a product, making a profit, acceptable way of doing it. Every single contract is approved by AOFI approved scholars who have the training to approve. They're not just local scholars. This is all on the website, so I'm just going to breeze through this, not take too much of your time. Sheikh Nizam Yaqubi is a chairman of Sharia board. Mufti Abdullah Nana is a local from California. He's on the Sharia advisory board. Dr. Abdul Bari Bashal and late Sheikh Professor Hamid Hussain was the head of International Amja. He also worked on approving our programs. This is all on the website. I don't want to get too much detail. We covered this already. The past speakers, say trade is kind of riba, but Allah has made trade lawful, riba unlawful. This has been, you've seen over and over again. We all know that. I don't want to preach the choir on that. The thing I want to talk about, when I go, people ask me about Islamic financing, I just talk more about the difference in the terms of process and paperwork. What makes us different is the process. We have to have a product. Banks are buying and selling money. People go deposit money in a bank. They take somebody else's money that was deposited and give it to somebody else, and they charge them a higher interest rate. That itself becomes a problem because you cannot buy and sell money. So at the end of the day, a product has to be there. If there is no product, there is no Islamic financing. And I even say, any bank can offer this product. As a matter of fact, I was in Dubai last year. HSBC, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, they all offer Islamic financing over there. Being a bank is not a bad word. It's the product has to be structured correctly. You can walk in today and buy a property from a bank. If it's a foreclosed property, bank ended up getting it, you're buying it. Just because you deal with a bank doesn't mean it's haram. We all deal with a bank. Checking account, savings account, money's moving around, it happens. But what is important is the structure behind it. If a bank also does this correctly, where they sell a house to you in monthly installments, and it's structured as a buying and selling of a product, as opposed to buying and selling of money, it's a halal way of doing it. Okay, there's some unique things, but again, we'll get into more detail, but it comes down to the process and paperwork. We don't have a promissory note, Islamic contracts. It is structured as a partnership where one party is buying the other party out over time. I'm going to breeze through this. I do this presentation in half hour with a lot more sense of humor and a lot more, but I'm not going to do that today because of the time I have over here. So you're missing out an amazing presentation I do. I'll do it another day, inshallah, someday. This is an important slide I wanted to cover. People come to me all the time, right? Brother Ejaz, if your product was done like this or like that, or if you can change it, it's not that easy because there are so many different parties involved in this. First and foremost, the Sharia board has to help you structure the program correctly. They are the scholars who know what they're doing. Then you have federal agencies. You have to abide by their laws, fair credit reporting, what you can do, how you can work with realtors, et cetera, et cetera. State agency approvals. You have banking regulators because we raise money from the community, so we can use that money to fund some of our programs. So banking regulators are involved, sellers, attorneys, title companies, investors. And equally important, the program has to be scalable. 20 people over here can put in $1 million each and start a $20 million company. That $20 million goes away within a matter of 15 days. We do 70 to 80 million a month. That's not enough. So any program you come up with, it has to be scalable. Scalable means it can be done at a larger scale. Otherwise, there's no sense being in the business. We've done over $5 billion because it's a scalable model where you have to not only raise capital that you can use to invest and buy homes, but then you also have to find investors. I go to Dubai over there last year. I was talking to some big sovereign funds. Invest money with us. They're looking at me and saying, why would we invest with you? Back then the rates were about 5%, 30-year profits we were charging our customers to compete with the banks over here. They're like laughing at me and saying, why would we invest money in America? We can charge 10, 12% in Dubai, in Middle East, in Malaysia, Asia. So no overseas money is coming to the US anytime soon. So we have to find money here. And one of the things I'm going to appeal to you is invest with us. Because if you invest with us, we can invest in the community and you can share profits with us. And we're launching some other new programs coming out, including a REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust, and so forth, where we want to raise money from the community, use it to invest in the community, and return dividends back to our community. So we don't have to go to the banks. How many banks come to MCC East Bay on a Friday night like me and spend time with us? Nobody does. So we have to do it for ourselves. That is the important part. So the point of the matter is, the multiple parties involved, you have to get a lot of approvals. It's not an easy program to launch, very complicated, and get a lot of approvals along the way. There are multiple programs, Musharaka, Muraba, Ijara, Mudaraba. Again, we're not going to get into that. We can get into more details. We offer Musharaka for home financing. We offer the Murabaha for the auto financing. And we do the Mudaraba profit sharing for our time deposit investment programs. Raising money from the community is very important. We have a program that you will invest with us where the money is held. We're not a bank, so your account has to be opened at University Bank. And over there, when you open the account, we use that money to invest in our masjid, home financing, auto financing programs, etc. And we share that with you. The current rate of return is about 4.32. It's not a fixed return. We're targeting that return. The capital is guaranteed because it's an FDIC insured account. Just like you open a checking account, your capital is guaranteed. You go to the bank, they have to give you the money back. Same thing with this. It's done in the form of a CD. So your money is guaranteed, but we're giving you a targeted 4.32 because that's what we're making on the investments right now. It could be a little bit up, a little bit down, but that's roughly. And all of you qualify as long as you're part of this seminar. Why UIF, I'm going to end with that, is number one company in the industry in origination volume, home, masjid, commercial, and vehicle financing. We do a lot of giving back, which is important to us. Not only webinars, seminars. If you're not on our registered on our website, please do so. Take Anwar's card, please do so. I'll show you the information. I personally do educational presentations. I read 1 to 2 books a month. Of way I give back is by conducting webinars for our younger people. How did how did Steve Jobs become successful? How did Amazon, Jeff Bezos launch? Different books, different topics, Warren Buffett's books, etc., etc. So it's a way we give back, sponsorships, scholarships to imams, children. So we give back over $250,000 in sponsorships to masjids across the country. And our goal is very simple. We want to be number one because of our service, transparency, price. We don't have LLC fees or any junk fees. It's all about keeping it very simple and doing what's best for the customers. If you go and check out our website, with so many stars, you can't go wrong. If this was a restaurant, I would tell you to go try it, but this is our company. We have more 5 stars than anybody out there, period. I'm going to end with that. One of the most important slides over here. Anwar Mangrio is the name you should remember out of this area. It's very simply the best in the industry, and he's going to be the one to answer your question and get into more details. With 57 seconds to spare, brother, I think I did a really good job, mashallah. Jazakallah khair, thank you so much. With that, I think we're going to bring up brother from Amin Housing. Brother Amin Housing is here or no? If Amin Housing is not here, I'm taking their time as well.
Okay, sisters and brothers, if you want to, we're going to reconvene, inshallah, those that are here for the Islamic Finance Night, inshallah. Those that are going to be visiting with one another, it's great that you're here. Masjid's the best place to do that. Let's take it out to the lobby, inshallah. We have food out there, we have desserts out there, so feel free to enjoy that. And on top of that, all the companies that are here tonight, they're represented with tables outside. So please do that, and we'll begin with Brother Mustafa shortly here with Amin Housing. Jazakallah khair. And save your questions, especially those that are online. If you want to start putting them into the chat box, we will get to them during our Q&A, inshallah.
Are you ready? How are you? Nice to see you. Ready?
I like to stand actually.
Okay, here, let's mic you up this time.
I hope it's spoken without an issue. And there's a. Oops. Should I shut down this one?
You want to go up and down?
Down. Yes, sir.
There's nothing. You use that. Sure. Yeah, I like to stand this. Okay. Perfect.
That's it.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. So my name is Muhammad Mustafa. I think unlike everybody here so far, I do not actually work for Amin Housing. Actually, my regular day job is senior director at AMD. So I'm a circuit designer actually, but I do that for fun. Actually, I am very passionate. Okay, sit here. That's a good idea. Jazakallah khair. Actually, I have been investing with Amin Housing since 2001. I joined there as a board member, as a volunteer board member for almost 12 years. I now actually have no affiliation whatsoever with Amin Housing, except that I'm just an investor. I'm a big, passionate believer of the model of Amin Housing. That's why I'm here presenting their model to everybody, and I'm, looking for that to. It's a more of a knowledge for everybody else, inshallah. So I think Brother Munder already covered the ayah, so I'll skip that. One thing I wanted to make sure about it is that we have been in California since 1996. Amin is the first Islamic real estate investment trust REIT in from Islamic bank, Islamic finance point of view, another bank for sure. And actually, I forgot one important thing. We are 100% Sharia compliant. Again, Brother Munzir already from guidance already mentioned about about Amin Housing. We did not have a counselor of scholars to come. What we did is actually we invited we invited Amjad scholars, Sheikh Salah Hassawi and Sheikh Ma'an Qudha, for 2 days with us. They review our models and they said, guys, this is good, this is not good. Change this to that one, you will be 100% Sharia compliant. Yes, we agreed on everything because we are here to help the community. We are not here to get money. As I said, most of us are actually volunteer working for the community. We're not here to get money actually. Okay, we are here to give back money to the community through helping all of us, inshallah, to have a Sharia way to invest and Sharia way to buy homes as well, inshallah, for our members, inshallah. And one thing is important here. You will see me actually not talking too much about home buying because Amin Housing doesn't have a problem selling its model to homeowners. We have, mashallah, a lot of people waiting to buy their homes through Amin Housing because our model, mashallah, is amazing. It's just really good for our home buyers. What I'm here for is to want to everybody to get aware, to come and invest as investors, to get good return of investment halal way, and also help those people who are waiting to get their houses halal way as well. Because guess what? We do not deal with banks. We don't deal with Freddie Mac. We don't sell your loans. We're just a community. And again, invest, buy a home, or refinance. We support all of them. We have been 27 years in operation. We have already 108 consistent profit every quarter, mashallah. Okay, so guaranteed, alhamdulillah. It's not because we are a bank, because the model, mashallah, is bulletproof, mashallah. And I will have to show a lot of data to this. Right now, we have $54 million in asset, and we have more than 200 homes already purchased through Amin Housing. Okay, how to become an investor? First of all, why to invest? First, it's halal. It's very simple. It's 100% Sharia compliant. Two, that the funds are already secure by the home themselves. We ask all the home owners or the potential one to put at least 20% down payment. That's how we guarantee that people will not just put 3% and leave us like what happened in 2008 with people. We never had that. So alhamdulillah, people buying from Amin Housing are secure, good buyers. Okay. The title is co-owned. It's a partnership, so we are always co-owned. So Amin Housing and the home buyers are together in the title. Now, look at I'm an investor personally. I like to, when I need a good chunk of money, I like to be able to get money out of my Amin Housing account. Okay, Amin will give you 100K within 48 hours. I don't think anybody can. We are not CD, we're not bank. Remember that. Okay, but we're trying to make sure that people are having access to their money easy, okay? And again, consistency and security of your ROI. Alhamdulillah, we have 77 years of consistent profitability, mashallah, of our model. Okay, one thing, this is how the whole model works, very simple. You, the investors, hopefully all of you, okay, you put money in Amin Housing. That money is used to buy homes for our homeowners. Homeowners will pay rent depending on their percentage of ownership. The other part that they don't own, that is the rent that go and buy back to ROI, going back as a dividends to the investors. One thing, actually, I hear it from a previous, not in this event, another event I attended, I like it actually, is that they were saying that the Mormon community, the people living in a Mormon church, one of the things that they're bragging about, that the dollar stay within their Mormon community 12 times before it goes out of their community. This is the same model we're trying to do here. Again, we're not, of course, we're Muslims, but again, we try to circulate our dollars within the community. This is what we are so proud of. Consistency of ROI. Okay, first of all, we do not promise you a constant ROI. Otherwise, we are in a bank. Okay, we just simply go with a return of investment, which is basically depending on how much profit we collect through the rent. Okay, so you can see basically on the years from, at least we just, because of the zooming in, I'll just cover from 2012 to 2022, and you see we are roughly close to 5%. Okay, this is your ROI, very consistent. Okay, and mashallah, secure again by the model itself, not because we are a bank. I need to keep emphasizing it because we are not a bank. Okay, people say, okay, but how about 2008 when everybody was crashing? Okay, this is what we had. Again, sorry, this is an old picture. I had got it from a very old presentation. But you see, even 2008, this is the thing down there, we get 3.2%. So people were bankrupt, we're losing money, foreclosure, and we get profit to our members, 3.2%. Yes, it's not 5%, not even the previous year we see 7.5%. Okay, because if you're living at the area 2007, you saw what this came from, the 7.5%, right? But again, security of your money, inshallah. Okay, the model has been very consistent, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen. Okay, this is how the assets is growing, mashallah, very consistent. Okay, how to become an investor? Again, just go to our webpage. I'm not going to invest there. Then fill a membership. You can go outside as well and get a membership form. Very straightforward. Buying a home, there is another. You become an investor first, and then you will apply for become in the buying home thing. The only thing we ask is to put 10% to be in the waiting list to buy a home. You need to put at least 10% of what you're asking for, or 50K, whichever less. Okay, to be just in the waiting list to buy a home. And refinance, pretty much the same thing. The only difference is that if you're refinancing, we use part of your equity toward that down payment. So you don't have to put the whole 10%. You can only put basically a total of eventually 20%, including your own equity of the home that you already try to refinance. To make it easy, because most of the people already in mortgage, we're trying to get them out of the haram mortgage, basically. How it works, again, this is not the focus really of my presentation, but just good reference for everybody to try to see how the whole model works. So think about it, there is $1 million home that we bought. The member put 200K, 20%. Amin Housing will put 800K. Basically 20% ownership for the home of the home buyer, and 80% is coming from the home from Amin Housing. We appraise a home for rent. Again, this is a professional appraisal with that. This is just for easy number. It's like, let's talk about $1,070 for a month. We give back to the home buyer 7% back, and that's our partnership with the home buyer because we have true partnership, right? So this is what our partnership toward the property taxes and insurance that you pay for that. The remaining, let's say $1,000, it's divided by the ownership. $800, that's where they come as an ROI for the investors. Okay. The best part of if a homeowner try to make a remodeling, okay, you pay for remodeling, but guess what? That's not a waste money. That money goes to your equity. Nobody does that. I guarantee you that. Okay. So you invest in your home, you like a new kitchen, your bath. You pay for it, but guess what? That money is not wasted. It adds to your percentage of ownership. Amazing, right? You're not wasting anything. At the end, since it's a partnership, we do reappraise again toward the end of the contract. When the home buyer reach 85%, We appraise the home at the time, and we kind of distribute the profit or loss equally based on that percentage. So if, let's say, for sake of argument, if the home depreciate and we get less money, I mean actually pay back to the homeowner because it's a true partnership. We're not taking money for it. It's a true partnership. That's the whole point of Amin. Okay? We don't, again, we're not here to abuse our home buyers, but in the same time, we try to make it Sharia compliant and fair. Before, by the way, that used to be 100%, and that's part of the correction that Amja corrected us for. I said, you cannot just use 100% because at the time, you own nothing. The home buyer already bought everything 100%. You cannot share anything in that case. Okay? They said, choose anything, whether it can be 85, can be 80, can be 70, can be whatever, as long as homeowner and Amin could together agree on a percentage at the beginning of the contract. That's it. So and that's that. So you will see, a couple of years ago it was 70%. Right now it's 85%. An example. So it just can be changed. Sorry, I'm trying to get. Typically it takes 20%. I'm trying to run through the presentation. Okay. Again, one of the things also that I'm personally very proud of it, that Amin is whole board of director, which is running by volunteers. Okay, I'm not a board member even of myself. I'm just coming here as a shed. I'm just a believer of the model, nothing more than that. Okay, but we cannot run only by pure volunteers, and that's why we have very important asset of our Amin Housing is our office staff, running by Brother Hassan Siddiqui, which is actually here. Mashallah, he's actually our operating manager, but he is also a volunteer, by the way. He is, amazing. And we have Sister Salma and Brother Ahmed, who's also running the office himself. And we have Brother Farid, he's sitting in front of us as well, inshallah, taking care of the office as well. Sorry, I'm running very fast. Sorry. That's it. I think I'll just stop it here, inshallah. Jazakallah khair all. Bye.
Jazakallah khair. So I wanted to thank the presenters. They all came in here. 1997, I know a friend of mine was looking at Sharia-compliant loan for his home, and the only service that he was able to find in California was the Bank of Qatar. And then right after he closed his house, the bank stopped doing that service. So now, mashallah, 27 years later, we have 5 vendors here, and 1 vendor didn't even show up. So we have, mashallah, 6 options for you. And you hear the name AMJA, the American Muslim Jurisprudence Association. So it was mentioned many times. It's a regulatory Sharia body that everybody's working on. There's a standardization. There's a Sharia compliant. And everybody has a brother or an uncle or somebody that says, oh, you know what? This is just loopholes. This is all the same. It's the same as Wells Fargo. It's just a different form. Really, you can see that the Sharia compliant boards, Mufti Taqi Usmani, Mufti Abdullah Nana, a lot of the shuyukh are volunteering their time to help these organizations provide Muslims with these options. And if you read the ayahs that have been quoted here, it should make you very, very scared. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presents the ayahs in a way that we should try to walk towards him. If you walk towards him, he will run towards you. The barakah is here in this, mashallah, all these folks who are presenting these options. Some of them are purchase and flipping. Some of them are co-ownership. Some of them are leasing. They presented you with all these options. And Allah swears by the pen. You, as a responsible head of a family with your children and your spouse, you are responsible for doing the best you can to please Allah in the most efficient way in the system, in the society that you live, with the laws of the land that you have. I know that's a big statement, but everybody here can do the options of actually reading the documentation, looking at the websites, and visiting, calling these brothers, and trying to do the best you can. The Chinese community in San Francisco is a very close-knit community. People have said that they have the most shared dollars in their system. If $1 is marked in the Chinese community, it actually bounces around in the Chinese community 42 times before it leaves their community. Some brother mentioned 17 times. Some brother mentioned 11 times. The Chinese community does it 42 times. They keep the money inside of themselves. And that continues to give the barakah. And then there's the metaphysical equation that we've mentioned here, that your pen, you walk towards Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala runs towards you. And so I wanted to let you know that, this is, the folks that have been here, they're in the banking industry. To make it very, very simple, A lender is interested in you serving the slavery of debt. And they use your house as collateral. So if you pay off your loan for 28 years and you lose your job, they take your entire house. After you serve their debt for 28 years, they take your entire house, right? And if you pay a 30-year mortgage, if you do the mathematics on the curve, the interest versus principal curve, it takes you 22 years to be a 50% owner. In these co-ownership models, your 20% is your 20% day one. Your 30% is your 30% day one. And the institutions that are here, they're interested in you having success and paying off that loan and getting your children to inherit it. The bank's interest in the riba system is for you to fail so that they can take everything. That's their interest. They want you to fail. They want you to get into debt so that you can fail, so they can take your interest and then your debt. And the middle class, so the success of the middle class in America, I'm an economist, I study these things, is that inheritance is passed down mostly in America in the middle class through home ownership that the parents have, and then the children get to inherit that asset. And then they can pay off their loans or they can begin their families, and each generation has a rung in the ladder. And so these institutions, mashallah, are the best institutions that you can go to try to get the successive model of being in this society and building that rung of the ladder so that your children you can own a home, you can be in the home, and then you can pass it on to your children, and that's how you build wealth. That's traditional wealth. It's hard assets. So I just wanted to thank the folks who organized. I want to thank all the presenters here. Please go to their tables, look at their literature, get their cards, and call them. And mashallah, everyone that I know that have had an experience, that have worked with these banks, have done a wonderful job. And not only have they benefited financially, not only have they felt secure, but they've also felt the barakah come into their lives. So jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Sidi Zishan, actually, we have some time for questions, if you don't mind. Is that okay? And
yeah, so the yellow mic is for questions. I'll walk around if you have any hands.
Raise your hand, inshallah. Real quick, I want to mention, for those that are watching at home and those, it's a very information-rich seminar that we had right now. So there's a lot of information here. The decks for every speaker are in the, if you watch this again on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram on all the MCC channels, it's in the description there. So you can watch, you can read every deck.
Do you want to have the presenters come to the front?
Yeah, let's have the presenters come to the front,
if there's
inshallah.
any specific questions.
And then if you want to raise your hands, Sidi Zishan will come to you, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. My name is Ruhullah Habibi. I work for the company Sotheby's International Realty here in the Danville office. So I partner with Ali and some of the other brothers from guidance and everything like that. So if anybody has any questions about residential real estate, what's going on in the industry right now, what's going on in the markets, I'll be in the back over there when they're going to their tables, and I'll be able to answer any questions you may have.
I'll just mention one thing too. I've had the pleasure of doing some transactions with Brother Rahullah, and mashallah, he's very, very knowledgeable. So yeah, definitely do come by and speak with him.
Yeah, question in the back.
Assalamu alaikum. So I just actually this week moved from San Diego to San Francisco. So the question is, when I was in the East Coast, I was very impressed about the Islamic finance. And I talked to the people, I don't want to mention the name, but my wife and me, we decided if we get Islamic finance, then we'll go buy our own first house. So we contact them and we get all the informations. But when time comes close to closing, I get all the information from the traditional bank. Then I was kind of surprised. It mentioned 3.5% interest. And when I talked to their brother, he said he cannot get everything because we just can compromise. So then I was shocked. But when I know the Amin House, I missed the other one. So I'm kind of wondering, when we are going close, can we get the information from the traditional bank and that goes the interest, or maybe after a few years you can sell everything to the bank and then we will be liable to the banks? So if you can answer, that will be great.
Sure, I'm happy to answer, and then I can pass it along to everyone else too. But so in these transactions, there are some documents that you may not even be required to sign, but we're required to provide them to you because they're federally mandated, right? So the most pertinent document that you are going to sign is going to be the note, right? Whether it's a musharaka or a murabaha, right? That's the pertinent documentation. That's telling you what actually you are signing and what transaction you are doing, right? So now if one of these institutions is giving you a promissory note, then that's a big problem, right? Then that means you are involving in a interest-based loan. So that's the main document you need to look at. You have to look at what is the note. Look at the note. Is it a murabaha? Is it a musharaka? Or is it a promissory note? If you get any documents that are showing an interest rate, you have to see who's sending that document and what that document is, right? And then your loan officer should be explaining to you what it is, right? So a lot of times, again, the financial institution may say, hey, we're required to send this to you. You don't have to sign it, but we're required to send it to you. It's a federally mandated document that we're required to send you. Even though your transaction is not an interest-based transaction, it's still a home finance transaction, so we're required to send it to you. And if you want to add to it.
Inshallah. So as Brother Ali mentioned, when you go and sign, there is almost maybe 80 or 100 pages that you need to sign. There is a really big stack of paper that you need to sign. The majority of these documents are disclosures and informations about home buying and so on. The main documents are just maybe the two things: the obligation to pay and the promissory note. If there is a promissory note, then that's a straightforward lending agreement between you and in our contract. What we don't have a promissory note. We have the declining balance ownership agreement, and that's what we give to you. What you receive in the disclosures, there is something called loan estimate. There's something called closing disclosures. These are, as Ali mentioned, these are mandated by the government to be shared with every one of you. If you are in the mortgage industry, that you have to sign these. This does not apply, for example, for Amin Housing, because they are not in the mortgage industry. I just want to make sure that this is, I think, can clarify. But this is not your contract. These are just disclosures. So when you receive a quote, for example, from Guidance Residential, from Bank of America, from Quicken Loan, from Divan Bank, and all these guys, you can compare apple to apple, not apple to orange. That's what it is.
Finish.
Jazakallah khair. To carry on brother's comments, that rate that you see is actually very important for consumer protection, to allow you to compare with other products that you see. It's one thing for me to tell you you're paying rent or you're paying X dollar amount, but you cannot compare the dollars unless you know all the terms and the fees that you've paid. That's why the disclosure with the APR, the rate is provided to you. And then each of us has a different model of financing. The financing documents differ from model to model. In our model, there is a promissory note and there's a Sharia foundation for it. So some of the comments where if there's a promissory note, it's not halal, I take great exception with that, and I'll be happy to address it in details.
Yeah, so again, Jazakallah khair for that question, because this is when I bought my own house, it's exactly what I suffered. Okay, I look at all of the available, mortgage, whatever I call it that way, and I was shocked the same way until, alhamdulillah, I found Amin Housing. Please, my advice to everybody, guys, look at the contract they're trying to sign before you do anything else, and you judge yourself. Simple as that. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum. Just quick question. The brother mentioned, you mentioned that I mean, housing is not mortgage. We are mortgage. What does that mean? I didn't understand that.
So, to be a mortgage company in the mortgage industry, I will say you can be. There's two types. So you're going to be. It's either a bank or a subsidiary of a bank or a mortgage company that does that. Guidance Residential is not a bank or subsidiary of a bank. Unlike, for example, the rest of our brothers here, they are a bank or a subsidiary of a bank. Amin Housing is not in the mortgage. They are not regulated by the mortgage, by the federal government, like the mortgage companies. Like, for example, I have to be a licensed loan officer, for example, by the government. That's what they call me. This is in there. And actually, because we're not affiliated with a bank, even our licensing is a slightly little bit more different than someone is in a bank. In a bank, you are going to be insured under the bank. FDIC, you do not need to pass, for example, a national exam. That does not apply to us, for example, in our case. And in Amin Housing, you are not part of all of this. You are basically, it's co-op. You invest your money. You are an investor in that things. And I think Muhammad can explain that more about Amin Housing. That more than me, he will be more knowledgeable to say that, I would say. Yes.
Mortgage means being mortgage means your source of funding is from government agencies, right? That's why you are regulated by them? Is that true?
It's not necessary, but we are actually we do deal with the secondary market, which is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Oh.
But it's not necessary. You have to sell to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Okay.
And just to follow up on this, who's Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? So because people they hear this term a lot, and sometimes that confuses people. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are not a bank or a lender. Okay, these are chartered companies that chartered investors were created by the government to create liquidity in the market. And the reason they want to create liquidity because the American dream is having to have everyone to have a home ownership and so on. So what they did, they created that these institutions, and where if you meet certain criteria, okay, you can go as a mortgage company or as a bank or so on. After you take the loan, you give the loan to that company, you go and you sell it to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Now, that is a problematic in the beginning because why? Your first contract with, let's say I'm a Bank of America, I'm just going to assume that. If I do a Bank of America, what they do a promissory note contract, which is a lending method. Okay, I lend you $500,000, you pay 5% interest, and then that is a riba-based contract. But then they turn to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They want to sell it. What they are selling is they are selling debt. When you sell debt, it is also problematic because you cannot sell a debt on a profit. You cannot profit from selling debt. So that is also a problematic. So what guidance, we do not facilitate selling debt or lending you money. What we do, we go with you in an ownership. We work with you in a partnership. So we have in the home, what we have, let's say, for example, 500,000, you put 20%. Your ownership is at 20%. And what we have, an ownership in that property, 80% ownership in that property. So the first contract is between us and you, is ownership. We have own 80% and they have 80%. We use our own funds. And as I mentioned, we are not a bank. We're not affiliated with a bank. We are a Muslim-owned company. We use our own funds. And then when we need to liquidate, we turn to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And by the way, it took us like a year and a half to make them accept our contract in the beginning. That is in the beginning when we established the company. And what we think, we go and we sell our share of the property. So they take our position in the contract. And there is two conditions remains there, that the contract is basically cannot be changed or touched. It will be remain. They just take our position. It's like they are buying our share in that property. So what we sold them assets. We did not sell them, debt. That's the main thing. And then the second one is we keep the servicing, which means all your relationships, it stays and remains with us. So you are dealing with guidance. And I think And what can we
One comment here. Brother Muntar already explained Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. I'm not going to go into detail about that. The only thing I'm going to point out that UIF, we also have portfolio product, which we don't give to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. If any customer or anybody, any buyer is not comfortable because of Fannie Mae, we do have another option, which is we keep an own portfolio. We don't give to anybody else. There's another option for that.
Okay. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for all the work. My question was to you, Mike. You mentioned about one of the RIBA's goals being helping owners buy a home at the same or lower cost. And could you please elaborate on that? Because I came in skeptical that all Sharia-compliant options would be slightly higher than traditional options.
Jazakallah khair. Yeah, the idea, as many of us would do, everybody wants to do Sharia compliant. When you structure it based on the rent, like we do, based on the rental value and the investment approach, when I show you the payment, you're happy you're doing Sharia compliant, and then you go home and somebody tells you, oh, but you're paying, your payment is so much compared to what what the Bank of America is offering or what Chase is offering. So what we've decided to do is, even though we start from the rental value, and we're the only company that starts from the rental value to calculate your payment and calculate a rate of return on investment based on the rent, every contract, we then compare to the market and see if a 30-year, let's say, by Bank of America is going to be lower payment, we're happy to reduce the rent such that the rate of return on investment is competitive with others. So that's how we reach that. You're welcome.
If I may just add to that question. Okay. Actually, sometimes we as a community, we're being driven by the cost, and which is, I think it's a very valid point. And I think all the companies here, including Amir Housing, they are very competitive. So I'm not going to go into the pricing issues, because in reality, it's very competitive. But if you are seeking Islamic finance, Akhi, you should first look at the authenticity. And that is your number one goal, should be always. You don't go and buy pork because it's cheaper than beef. This is haram and this is halal. And that's something that you need to keep in mind. You cannot just say because these guys, Bank of America is cheaper, so I'm going to go to Bank of America, it doesn't really matter. No, you are feeding your family is riba. 1 dirham of riba is like the person who slept with his mom. He's committed zina with his mom. That just 1 dirham of riba. And you can imagine, or you want to be in the day of judgment is at the war of Allah Azza wa Jal, in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. You don't want to be in this situation. So don't make I will call it the cost is what drives you. Make what is authenticity and Sharia compliant, it drives you. That's first. As long as you can afford it, look at it from that point of view, not from which one is it cheaper. We go all to sometimes to you compare Target to Walmart to Safeway to they're all within the same range. I would say you might find someone is slightly a little bit more expensive, someone is little bit more affordable, but let the authenticity drive you. Wallahu a'lam.
Assalamu alaikum. A quick follow-up question to the brother. Actually, to what you mentioned. You said we do an appraisal, and then based on that, we decide how much you're going to be paying for, I'm going to use the word rent versus principal. If I use the word principal, it's wrong. How often do you do appraisal? And if someone is getting an Islamic finance, does he know day zero how much he will end up paying by the end of owning 100%?
Yes, we do the appraisal in the beginning of the contract. We agree on the rental value with you, and your payment will be fixed. The rent is fixed for the period of the contract. Our share of it declines every month as you pay back. So if we finance 80%, we'll start out getting 80% of the rent in the beginning, and it goes down every month as you pay back. So you will know exactly how much is your monthly payment going to be and what your total payments are going to be over the 10 years or 30 years. Sister has a question.
Just a follow-up question on that. How many percentage of
people online can hear you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for
Assalam.
hosting this. But my follow-up question was, how many percentage of that monthly payment or that monthly rent goes towards you owning a house and towards you actually paying for the actual rent or utilizing that house for being a resident?
I understand your question. If you'd allow me to answer it a little differently, and I think you'll get the message. The idea is you're paying rent for the share of the house you have not bought yet, you've not paid for yet. So let's say, for example, you're asking us to put in 80%. You would pay 80% rent of the rental value on month one. The second component of the payment, in addition to the 80% rent, is the return of capital, repayment of capital. That amount differs based on how fast you want to pay back. So if you want to pay back in 10 years, it's going to be a lot larger than if you're paying in 15 or 20 or 30. So it's not easy to give a blanket statement and say that percentage of the payment goes towards the rent. The better way to look at it is you pay us a share of the rent that still corresponds to our share, and the balance is principal based on how long you want to take to pay back.
I think my answer is very straightforward. I mean, I already explained it. You started 20% ownership for you, 80% for Amin. You pay $1,000 as a rent, $200 that go back to buy equity from Amin. And every rent you pay, your percentage increase, Amin housing decrease. It's very straightforward. No question asked. We don't deal with percentage and all of this stuff. It's very straightforward.
Quick question. How does the terms vary with whether it's a conforming loan, jumbo loan, or a super jumbo loan?
So term means you're asking for the length of the contract. Yeah, so basically, as Brother Mike already mentioned, that it's based on number of year contract. So it depends on if you go 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. The longer the contract you have, you're going to pay more profit. You're going to pay less money going to go towards principal. If you're shorter contract, if you have 10-year contract, your more money going towards principal. You're buying a share faster. So it depends on the length of the contract.
Conceptually, I understand everything you're saying. The question I'm asking is, does anything that you're saying is determined by whether the loan amount is conforming, non-conforming, jumbo or super jumbo loans?
No, so the term going to be same regardless if you go jumbo or super jumbo. The term going to be same. You choose the term 30, 15, 20, regardless of conforming jumbo or super jumbo.
Okay, so you can get a 3% loan on a super jumbo loan?
3% down?
Yes.
So this is a different question now. So brother's question is how much down payment we need for super conforming or super conforming?
Correct.
So conforming, you can go 3 to 5%, which is in Bay Area right now, limit is 1.15. So you can go maximum loan amount of 1.15 with 3 or 5% down.
Correct.
But if you go over 1.15 1.15 million, sorry. If you go over that, let's suppose you go 2 million, you want to buy a home 2 million, we can finance it, but you need 20% down minimum. So down payment changes because you're going over conforming limit.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
So is the terms change based on the conforming, non-conforming?
Down payment term change, yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Actually, this question for this guided residential and Amin house actually. So you said part of the payment is a utilization fee, right? That's kind of rent. Right? I know Amin housing do appraisal, get market rent, fair market rent for the house, right? But how do you come up with a number?
Sure, so absolutely. So I don't want to go through the fancy.
Yes.
So at the end, we look at the index rate. the index rate where we basically base our margins and so on. So we look at the index rate, like for example, banks, they look at the index rate and then they add their margins, profit, and then they will tell you, for example, that that's 7%, let's say, interest rate. And that's exactly what we do.
So you don't really care about rent of that property itself, because based on my understanding of two model, actually you can get a lower rate from housing, because especially this area, right? Especially this area, house price is high, but the rent is low. So if you get specific property, the rate is lower than the traditional banking, right? But yours is just look at index, basically.
Yeah, the main difference, I think, is housing. I think Muhammad, he can talk more. But what they do, as Muhammad mentioned earlier, they go and they send an appraisal to look at that rent in that area. They see how much is it, and they will tell you, and they will split it based on that. And they do it every 2 years, I believe. They change the numbers and so on. What we have is fixed. What we tell you is fixed for the remaining of the contract if you go through this, whether 15, 20, or 30 years. And what we do is based on a straightforward, like we don't tell you that we're going to do analysis for that, because all of this, it's going to take you back again. What is the index rate and what's the margin and how much is that rate? And that's what you receive, the loan estimate, the CD, the closing disclosures. It's all going to be basically compared to these numbers. These are the numbers that we really utilize, because at the end of the day, I want to be very open here. We also look at how much Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are willing to basically to buy our product, and we follow the mortgage industry. That's what it is. So that's the bottom line. I think
maybe you can comment on, is my understanding correct? If I go with you, I can actually get lower rate. Is that right? Because in especially this area, because you go by rent of that area. For example, just in, let's say, Pleasanton, right? Those places has high house price but low rent comparatively, right? So if I go with you, actually my overall rate can be lower than traditional banking. Is that right?
So first of all, I cannot even speak about percentage, because once I speak about percentage, I have something burning in my heart here. Okay? So I'm sorry about what.
No, not percentage, but
I know. No, I'm talking. I know exactly what I'm saying about. But what I'm saying, when I hear anybody saying percentage, I'm just itching. Sorry.
Call it profit, whatever.
Whatever you want to call it. Yes. When I say that I need to compare myself to a federal index, percentage federal index.
Sure.
I'm so itching. Sorry. I'm just. That's why I said our model is very straightforward. Okay, you go for rent, pure partnership. You pay anything toward your house, you deserve it. It goes to your equity. Okay, as I said, like the remodeling, all of that, pure partnership. Your taxes, your property taxes, your insurance, we partnership with you. Pure partnership, no disclosure. Simple. Everything is straightforward. Everything is transparent.
Jazakallah khair. I'd like to clarify something about the rent. When we're saying we're investing, you really need to analyze that investment and see, is it a good investment or not? A high price value home and low rent is not a good investment. So when you calculate, it's so critical that you do the rental research as we do. Calculate a rate of return based on that, so that we may advise you, you should not be buying this house if it's a bubble. If the rate of return comes out based on the rent, 2%, just allow me to finish, and I know what you're coming to.
Yes.
If it's 2%, we tell the client, don't. It's very easy to use the market rate because everybody wants to pay the market.
Sure.
And everybody wants to undercut the market. We understand that. However, it's one thing for me to tell you you're going to pay 6% rate today, and you'll say, wow, this is wonderful. But if I told you what the rental value equivalent of that 6% is, you may say this house is not worth that. Because when market values are high, the rent and rents are low, it doesn't work this way. So it's very, very important to do the rental analysis in the investment approach. If you're not using the investment approach, it's something else.
But California house investors, they make money from this appreciation, not from rental, pretty much, right? That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I understand your point.
Yeah, you're correct. In the Bay Area, you cannot look at the rent.
Yes.
It's about appreciations. If you go to Texas, it's different. If you come to Sacramento, it's different. So every market has its own value. in the Bay Area, for example, appreciations is what is driving you. It's literally that's what happens. Home in different states appreciate maybe 2 to 3%. Here they appreciate higher. So it depends on what type of market you look. Sometimes you need to look, as Mike mentioned, you need to look at if it's a rental market or it's an appreciation market. So it's always you need to be aware of that. And the best thing is to connect with someone who's expert in this to give you the best advice.
I know someone mentioned this. Quick question. Do you also finance all of your commercial properties or land or any other type of properties?
Yes, we do.
We do commercial property, fast food franchises, medical clinics, nonprofits, but no land.
Yeah, we don't do land also. So no land, no manufactured home, no mobile home. We do commercial real estate anywhere in the U.S., in 29 states. And also we finance all like Islamic school, all these commercial properties here.
And autos also, that was mentioned.
We started the auto financing recently. Right now we're doing in 3 states. Inshallah, we're going to open next year in California also. But right now we're doing only Illinois, Ohio, and I forget one state. So we have 3 states we're doing, Michigan. We're doing 3 states right now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my experience is that you get a spreadsheet, you get a piece of paper that's 11 pages long, and you know every month what your percentage of ownership is. It changes. So you know the date you own 50%, 70%, 80%, 99%, and you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how this is done. It's not a lending. And the brother asked about disclosing the disclosure that looks like an interest payment. When you sign that disclosure, you're not signing an interest contract. You're signing that the federal government, that the person who presented you with the paperwork actually gave you the paperwork.
That's true.
That's what you're signing. You're not signing the actual lending note. You're signing that it was given to you.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging that you got the piece of paper, the disclosure. A lot of people get really confused when they see that piece of paper. And that's what most people harp on. It's like, oh, it's just a loan. You signed just a loan. No, you signed a disclosure for apples to apples comparison. Jazakallah khair for the presentation. We're going to take one more question. Thank you for your patience. There's been a lot of technical questions here. Jazakallah khair. We're going to take one last question. And thank you, everyone, for coming.
Assalamu alaikum. So the question that I had is like let's say 10 years, like you took a loan and for 10 years, like, you were able to pay it, and after 10 years you want to, kind of move away from that home, like maybe a sell or, like what is the options that is available? Like would my ownership that I have built it on this particular property, like would I get that money back?
Yeah, so you can sell your property anytime. Whatever the principal balance left that time, that's the amount you're going to pay. All the rest is yours. So let's suppose you bought a home $100,000 and you start paying payment every month. Next 5 years, you want to sell the home. Home value is now $500,000, right? But your balance from $100,000 left is only $50,000. So you will pay us the balance $50,000. All the rest is your money.
Percentage, not value. It's only it's equity, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So if you have half the house, you sell for 5 million. They get 2.5, you get 2.5.
No.
No.
It's not mine. Apologies, just to be clear. So let's say I buy a property for $1 million. I put 20%. After 5 years, I own 50%. We decide to sell it. We sell it for $5 million. My share is half the house, so I'm only entitled to half the property, right?
No. So the way the musharaka work, we are making profit every month from the payment you're paying us, right? The payment you pay us, profit, right?
Okay.
We cannot take double profit. So end of the day, when you sell the property, whatever the balance left, that's the amount you're going to pay us. Rest all is yours.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean the same thing, right?
No. Amin is the only one that shares.
You share. Okay.
By the way, you share both ways.
Okay. Okay.
It is good. That's why.
Yeah. Okay.
When it comes to the loss part of it, when it when you sell it at that time, like if the property value has decreased, is there a limit that you guys are okay to lose, or like it's like 100% loss would be shared across both?
Each one should answer.
Yeah, for Murabaha, like I mentioned, for some of you that missed my presentation, I kindly ask for you guys to sign, and I'll pass this around if you guys have not signed it, so I can send you a copy of the Murabaha just so you have an understanding of how this one works. But the Murabaha is very simple. What we do, like I mentioned, right? It's an installment sale. It's a credit sale. It's not a loan at all. So what we do is we acquire the property and we sell it back to you at a fixed price, plain and simple. You're just paying for a fixed price for the home, and you're paying it in installment payments. So with us, there's no shared losses or shared profits. The profit's yours to keep. Luckily, you're in California, so inshallah, you shouldn't experience any losses, inshallah.
In our case, you keep all the profit and any loss up to your equity.
Yeah. So the way the Musharaka works, the Musharaka contract is based on that we are going in agreement that you will occupy the property. You agree to pay us a profit until you buy our share completely. That's the agreement we're going in, right? Regardless of price going higher or lower. If it goes higher, is your benefit. If it goes lower and you want to sell it in your choice, you will still have to pay us the balance left. So if you take the loss, it's going to be loss for you. Only one exception in Musharaka contract that if you go in foreclosure, for whatever happened goes in foreclosure, and we got less than what you owe, we cannot go after you. That's the one beauty of this transaction, that we cannot go after you. But if you have a loan from regular bank, because you borrowed money from them, they can go after you for remaining assets. For remaining left, they can go for other assets, if they want to, but we cannot.
Jazakallah khair. We're going to end it, inshallah. So we appreciate all the attendees. We will have everybody in the lobby now, and please ask questions, get business cards, and we appreciate everybody coming out. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. Just turn off the stream real quick.